Hi, this is Mike from Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and on today's video we'll be taking a look at a mouse with a fan inside it. Yes, air conditioning for your hands, and also it's a gaming mouse and it's got RGB, and it's relatively inexpensive, so let's take a look. Okay, so this mouse was kindly sent to us by Ugly Bob, thank you very much Bob, and because of the weather that we've been having here in the United Kingdom, it's been getting rather toasty, so we saw this and thought of us, which we do appreciate. But is it going to cut the mustard? I've seen a lot of mice with various features. I've not often seen them with fans built in. It is a thing, I have heard of it before, but I've never actually sampled it. So is it a good idea? Is it something which may be implemented very badly on a very cheap form factor, possibly like this one, or is it actually going to be something which is particularly useful? Let's go through, do an unboxing, see what we actually get, go through the specs and see if any of the Amazon keywords actually live up to the hype. So first of all, looking at the packaging, as you can tell, yeah, lots of expense has been spared on this. It's just a cardboard box with the G25B marker on the front and the Anholi logo on there. Moving inside the packaging and things don't actually get a whole lot better. So we get the mouse itself and a very, very thin instruction manual, which is yeah, essentially dual language. So we've got Chinese and English on there, and it goes through and tells you all the individual specs. But essentially, pretty much, it is quite straightforward. So it's 110 grams, the mouse itself. We've got a 4-foot cable on there, which is a braided USB cable. It has RGB lighting, although really this is more of a kind of R and B lighting. G seems to be missing on this particular version, so you'll probably see that from some of the B-roll already. The lighting, for some bizarre reason, only seems to be going between kind of red and blue and purple and other shades of that. There doesn't appear to be any green. Whether or not it's a fault with the particular model, certainly on the Amazon listing it does show a complete full gamut of colouring on there, but sadly this one actually doesn't. But overall, the mouse actually does look and feel the real deal. It's a really nice ambidextrous style mouse. You've got 6 buttons on there, so you've got your center knurled wheel mouse, which actually, it does look very, very nice, although the indentation on it isn't particularly great, but certainly it will get the job done. You've got nice left and right clicky buttons, which are rated for 8 million clicks. You've also got a DPI button in the middle, and on the left-hand side, you've got what is traditionally a forward and back button, both of which have got a pretty nice click to them. The buttons themselves, very small amount of pre-travel there, and nice and clicky. So yeah, overall, actually does the job. Where they've added weight to this with the fan, which is actually inside here, they've taken away some of the weight by actually cutting out some of the sections here. And normally when you'd have a mouse like this with that amount of cutouts, you'd be looking somewhere around kind of the 60 to 80 grams mark, depending on the manufacturer and the quality of plastics. But obviously, because they've added things like lighting and the fan itself, that does add a little bit more weight to it. So although it's a 110 gram mouse, it doesn't actually feel heavy. It doesn't feel like a 110 gram mouse. It feels pretty much like a regular kind of 80 to 90 gram mouse, which is a strange feeling considering there is so much technology actually going on inside here, but it doesn't feel particularly heavy. So shape-wise, it's a pretty uniform shape, very much ambidextrous. There's a very slight raise to it on the back there, and actually it does feel particularly comfortable in hand. I have been using this, playing some games today and doing some testing, etc. And actually, yeah, it is an extremely comfortable mouse. It does remind me of some of those older Logitech mice from the early 2000s, which were extremely popular. I can't even think of the model number of it now, but there was basically 2 groups of people. You either had a Microsoft IntelliMouse or you had the Logitech alternative, and this to me feels very much like that Logitech alternative. So back to the specs of this mouse. So this is up to 8000 DPI. There are 4 DPI mode levels, which you can change with the DPI button on there. And in theory, when you press the DPI button, the lights are supposed to change color. This particular one doesn't, so I'm not entirely sure whether it's a design thing or whether or not they've kind of over embellished the description on Amazon, or whether it's just faulty and it needs to go back. Looking at the bottom of the mouse, you can see we've got 4 pads there, skate pads, quite small ones actually, and also you've got the optical sensor in the middle, and you've got this on-off button. So this has got a fan built into it. You can actually turn the fan on or off. Now the fan itself is a little bit on the whiny side, so potentially in some instances you may want to turn it off, such as if you're creating YouTube content, etc. you may wish to turn it off, but I think really most people, the reason why you're going to buy this is so that when you're in those intense gaming battles, or you're doing a lot of work on your PC and your hands are getting a little bit sweaty in the office or at home, then you can just turn the fan on and enjoy some of that breeze. And actually, it is a pretty decent breeze on there, considering how small the fan is. It is going to come down a lot to your actual grip. So if you are someone who grips the mouse and you've got your palm completely flat on there, you're not going to get any airflow. So it's pointless. But if you're like me and a lot of other people, where you generally tend to grab the mouse, kind of like pinch the sides a little bit, and you have the back of your wrist slightly raised, so air can actually get in, then you do feel a pretty decent blast. And actually, let's plug this in now and you can see what it's actually like. So there, plugged in is the RGB mouse. As you can see, so we've got some red and we've got some blue. Sadly, we have no green, which again, I think we should have. I think it possibly is a faulty version, certainly on the website, which actually we take a look at now. So this is the Amazon page, and you can see actually the mouse is available in a couple of colors, and it does show you there clearly yellow, green, purple, blue, etc., depending on the setting, and also it goes through the various colors, which should represent obviously the DPI settings. So when the mouse is red, 100 DPI, when it's blue, 1600 DPI, at purple, 3200, and yellow should be 8000. So yeah, maybe there's something going wrong here. But you can see there, that's how the mouse is actually built. So there's a fan actually inside there. And you've got the honeycomb shell design. Again, shows you the colors, usage, etc. So you can also see there the price. So at the moment, this one is $25.96 for the black version. There is a pink version as well, which is also available. That one's £20 just over, and there's a white version as well, which is just over 23. Now if you do actually search on Amazon for G25B or fan mouse, there are actually quite a few of these which look very, very similar. Now from what I can tell, the differences being is the actual optical sensor itself. Most of them have slightly different settings. Some of them got 6 DPI settings, some have got 4. It is a little bit of a crapshoot. Essentially they're all based around the same chassis and the same kind of overall feel and look. So anyway, that's enough about that. Let's see what it actually is like. Now the fan noise itself, because it's a small fan, is a little bit on the whiny side. So currently this is off, so you can hear the ambient sounds in the room now. So that is the ambient noise. Let's turn this on now. And straight away I can hear it now. It sounds very similar to kind of chipset fans on X570 motherboards, that kind of thing. It's very quiet, but there's definitely a certain pitch to it. And if I get it closer to the microphone, hopefully you'll be able to hear it. So some of that noise is obviously going to be air turbulence, because it is moving a little bit of air across that microphone. Turn around the other way. And you can hear there is definitely a whine to it. Another thing I've noticed as well is the fan doesn't spin at a uniform speed. So if you look at it very closely, again I'll get some B-roll of this, you can actually see the kind of motor almost shuddering, where the fans look like they're speeding up or slowing down, or for a millisecond stopping. Again, this could be this particular mouse. I have seen other videos with a similar model, and that appears to have the same thing, where the blades do kind of look like they're almost instantaneously stopping or pausing. It's a very strange thing. That particular mouse also didn't have the extra colours, it only had the same colours. So I'm kind of guessing that it is an R&B mouse rather than an RGB mouse. Whether or not that is a deal breaker for some, I honestly couldn't tell you. So DPI button wise, you press that, you can see it flashes to say it's done something, but it doesn't appear to be changing colour, although it does flash a few more times when you press the button, depending on the DPI setting you're at. The fan actually itself does move quite a bit of air, and the pitch does change obviously because you're putting your hand over a fan. If you put it over completely and it's completely flat, you get no airflow at all because it needs somewhere for the air to circulate. So if you've got slightly larger hands, or you kind of really flat onto the grip of itself, then yeah, you're going to get nothing at all. But in this kind of position, where there's a little bit of a gap there, actually it does work pretty nicely. And it does definitely keep your hands much, much cooler. Now even just this short bit of recording here, the difference between the temperature of my two palms is significantly different. That actually feels quite clammy on that side, and that is just completely cool. So yeah, it's really good. The buttons at the top there does appear to be a little bit of airflow coming up there, so again, your slightly sweaty digits may benefit from that. But where you will possibly benefit is actually in usage. So I'm going to go over to the mouse accuracy test and give it a go. Now, I have briefly used this mouse on this surface, and it does seem that it doesn't actually seem to want to pick up this desk at all. So I'm trying to move the mouse around now, and yeah, it's absolutely horrendous. Put it onto my hand, and it does track much better. So maybe it just doesn't like this type of surface. So I'm going to go ahead and get my mouse mat, and hopefully that's much better. So yeah, there is something with the sensor itself where it doesn't like being on certain surfaces. So that probably is down to the quality of the sensor itself. So let's go to the mouse accuracy test, and we'll do the standard difficulty with the 30-second duration, and let's see how we get on. The clicks are pretty nice, pretty precise. And actually on the mouse mat it does track actually pretty well. Slightly difficult for me to do this because I'm looking on a little bit of an angle, twisted round rather than being straight on. But the sensor does actually seem to be doing quite a good job, although I probably am not so much. Oh, 2 clicks there, that was my mistake. So it's not the most accurate sensor in the world, but it's definitely usable. And earlier, like I said, I was playing some CSGO against some bots, and it actually isn't too bad at all. Time is up. So total score 624, target efficiency 65%, click accuracy 98%, 105 hits, 2 misses. So yeah, a lot of that is down me. It really is. But the mouse itself, actually not too bad. So pros and cons. Pros, yeah, it's going to keep your hand nice and cool. It's relatively inexpensive depending where you get it, anywhere from kind of like £25. I have seen these on AliExpress for as low as kind of £7 or £8. So whether or not they're the exact same thing, difficult to say. I'd imagine it's very much like the AirPods market, where you can get £100 AirPods which look exactly the same as the ones which are kind of £10, but they're not always the same quality, don't have the same longevity, etc, etc. So I'm not going to bog you down with that, but obviously, essentially, in reality, normally if you pay a little bit more, you get a little bit more. So yeah, there is that to it, but certainly I think for the money, I honestly don't know. I think this is one of those things which has been pretty well thought out. It's a really nice design, it's a very comfortable design. The look of it actually is really good. It's a shame the RGB doesn't work really as it should do, at least if it's meant to have the extra colours, judging by what we've seen on there, it should have. The fan actually does work really well. It's a slightly noisy fan, but I guess that's inherent of all small fans. They do generate a little bit of noise. Maybe if it was a little bit slower spinning, that may have been a little bit quieter. But obviously if it does annoy you too much, then you can certainly just turn it off, which is quite easy to do. And there you go, there's a massive difference in the noise. I'm not sure if it's going to come across on the camera and the recording, but Kath certainly noticed, I think, when I turned it off. There is a big difference. So whether or not you're going to want it on all the time, I don't know, it may become a little bit too much for some people. If you're wearing headphones and you're gaming, then obviously it's going to make no difference whatsoever. The wheel, I would say, is the one thing which I'm actually more disappointed with than anything else. The wheel itself actually looks like it's going to be a really good thing to use. So you've got a nice metal wheel there, and it does appear to be made from metal, but it doesn't have a great deal of weight to it, so I think it's like a metal band around a plastic wheel. The movement on it isn't very defined, so when you're scrolling, There is a little bit of kind of wiggle there, so even just wiggling them or rocking the mouse, looking at my screen there, I can see that just rocking it is actually moving without actually it doing a full indent or rotation, so to speak. So yeah, the sensor in the wheel is possibly not the best. I'd like to have seen that to be slightly bigger or more raised to give you a little bit more accuracy. So not particularly accurate, but again, it's a scroll mouse, it does the job, it will scroll. It's just not as good as some of the mice that I've been used to using. Whether or not that is down to the price or whether I've been spoiled by having all these excellent mice to check out recently, I don't know, but I think it's one of those things I would say if you're going to get one, probably get it from Amazon. Give it a try, see how you think. Obviously with Amazon, 30 days, if you don't like it, just send it back. That way, if it's not for you, at least you're not wasting a ton of money. Which, again, around about £20 for a mouse isn't a huge amount, but certainly for some people that is the difference between a certain processor or the next model up or that extra few gigs of RAM or whatever the case may be. So it isn't inexpensive, but it's not one of those things which you spend money and you're like, oh my God, what have I done? So anyway, I've probably waffled on for way too long. Let me know what you think about this one in the comments section. Is it a good idea? Is it something you'd like to see more manufacturers do and maybe implement in a slightly better or more unusual way? I would be really interested to hear what your thoughts are. But for now, I've been Mike. This is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and hopefully we'll catch you in the very next video. Thanks for watching.